Commissioner of Deeds? Yes. So I'm going to call that ready. Counselor Thompson.
All over. Thank you, Madam President. I have items 10 and 11. Both of my items are ready.
Thank you. Counselor Rudd?
You have to hold 12 till the end of the meeting, and
Yeah, yeah.
13's ready.
Yeah, we'll be holding 12 to the end. We'll do amendments, then we'll vote on the amended version of 12, and 13 is ready.
Thank you. Counselor Green?
Thank you, Madam President. Do the councilors have any questions on items 14 and 15? That's the slurry seal program. That'll be voted on today.
Wasn't there supposed to be a public hearing?
Yeah, there
Today.
is today at 1 o'clock.
Oh, it's today at
We
1
jumped
o'clock.
over. If you look at the front of your agenda, it's
Oh,
1
okay,
o'clock
sorry.
today.
Oh, he sat in the wrong spot, so he don't have his agenda.
It's fine.
Okay. Item 16, gotcha bike, that'll be held. Item 17 is the license agreement with Verizon Wireless. Do we have any further questions on this item? Okay. All right, item 18 is a donation of a bicycle rack. Assume there's no questions on that one. Item 19 is a parking agreement. Items 20 through 22, this is the Hiawatha Wall. So any further questions on that item? We'll be voting on that today. Okay. And then item 23, this is the Tallman Street Bridge, which we discussed last time. And then item 24 is an agreement for a fiber network citywide. Any questions on this one? Okay. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Counselor Carney's not here.
You want to take it?
Okay, so he,
I can, yeah,
You got it?
I can take it.
I'm glad Councilor Kearney's not here. He's coughing like crazy.
Yes.
He's going to take care of himself.
Counselor Carney has items 25 through 30. We went over these at the last study session. Are there any questions? Are parks available?
ready.
Okay, they're all ready.
Counselor Allen?
Thank you. I have items 31 through 61. Items 31 through 34 are all ready. The additional land bank items, if you would like to move one or hold one, just let me know as I go through the list. 35 will be held, 36. He's not here, so I'll hold it. Yep. 37, Counselor Thompson.
Thirty-seven.
37?
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah,
Hold it?
yeah, hang
Okay.
on to those, the other council.
Okay. 39, 38, hold, 39, hold, 40, hold, 41, hold, 42, hold, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48 will all be held. 49 is held. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54 are all held. 55 and 56 are ready. And 57 through 60 will hold. And 61 I'll hold.
Before we get into the amendments, can I return to item number 16, 17?
That's
And ask,
the mobility.
yes, and ask Council Joe Barry to approach. Good morning.
Good morning. Joe Barry, First Assistant Corporation Counsel.
I just wanted to confirm a couple of issues that were addressed over emails between last study session and today,
Yes.
particularly related to labor standards related to the 5G. What? Okay.
Yes.
So are you familiar with the issues or the questions, or would you like me to restate?
No, this has come up in the past, and understandably, the council wants to sometimes make sure fair labor standards are being applied. And of course, in many instances for public projects, we have prevailing wage, so that takes care of a lot of our work. In other instances, for local contracts, we have the local employment residency ordinance, which was passed a couple of years ago, in the MWBE ordinance. And they apply to situations where the city is purchasing goods or services. And legally, we can do that because we make it a condition of the contract. If the vendor does not want to comply, they do not have to bid on our contract or agree to provide those services. However, when it comes to the right-of-way, we've really been preempted by the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 and the subsequent FCC order specifically for 5G placements. And under those federal rules, municipalities, in my opinion, cannot impose labor-type requirements in addition to our normal right-of-way protection requirements. It would be seen as an impediment to the advancement of telecommunications, which Congress has declared a national policy, and by setting these national standards, has restricted the ability of local governments to impose such requirements.
Does it restrict us from requiring transparency from those vendors that are doing the work? Even if it doesn't require any additional standard, does it allow us to require that the vendor provide transparency as to who is doing the work, what the labor standards are, what the wage is, et cetera?
I do not believe so. I mean, I do not believe we could require that under the FCC order. I think it would be seen as an additional unrelated item to their, we have the ability to regulate their safety issues in the right-of-way and protect pedestrians and vehicles, but the labor issue is really outside of the scope of our ability to regulate.
I think a number of us have questions, concerns about that, and I would not want us to vote on your guess about what the law requires or allows us to do. Do you think that you could use additional time to get an answer to us about what we are and are not allowed to request with regard to labor standards or transparency? Or are you certain about your answer to tell us that we have all the information that we need?
I'm confident that I can provide you with that opinion now, that in my opinion, this is an area that the council cannot regulate
Well,
through an agreement, through the agreement before you. We cannot require a small wireless facility carrier to reveal their labor issues to us.
are you as confident about that as you were about the inability of other municipalities to stop or delay the technology in other places that you gave us last week?
Yes, I mean, we've
Then I think we
conducted some more
probably need more
search.
time. Because the answer that we got last time when we were here didn't entirely show the factual scenario of what other municipalities have done. So it sounds to me like we need more.
No, I think I followed up with my opinion on Friday by email.
Right, but you
Looked
said
into
here
that
you
further.
were sure, and then we got on a follow-up email which did clarify some. So I think
I'm not sure what you mean by clarify. The issue of moratoriums and bans?
that's the issue. Yes, which you said that no municipality would be allowed to do that, but then it turns out that some had.
No, I don't think I stated that.
Well, I'm not clear from your presentation today. I'm not clear that we are certain that we are not able to make sure that the same labor standards that we would want to effectuate from a vendor from whom we were buying services, that we can't effectuate the same labor standards with a vendor who's doing work in the right of way. It sounds
Well,
like that's the
I'm certain with
distinction,
my
right?
opinion, and that's kind of my final opinion, so if the council, you're always welcome to get a second opinion. But I believe my answer, both as to the moratorium and ban issue and the labor issue, I feel confident, and I stand by my opinion.
I don't have anything more for this witness.
I do. Joe, Mr. Berry, I'm reading something here that came to me that basically said that the Ninth Circuit Court, that's where some of the 5G are being held up at?
Yes.
Because, yeah, you know about that?
Oh, yes, we've monitored that litigation, and to date, the court has not ruled in favor of the local governments.
Well, I haven't ruled on anything yet, and what they're basically saying is that it leaves room in the agreement to modify rates based on that court ruling, that we don't have to, I mean, some things it's saying we don't have to accept. So,
I have not seen a federal court decision that has overturned the FCC order, so those are the limits on the
so what
rates.
happened?
But I think, no, to follow up on that, you are correct in that both the FCC order, and I think the court is acknowledging that, is saying in certain circumstances, municipalities can charge higher rates if they can prove through statistical evidence and proof that of their own cost structure that a higher rate is warranted.
So are we
The
leaving
administration has looked into that. I think we discussed it when we rescinded the telecommunications ordinance, and as part of administration policy, they deemed that not worth pursuing at this time.
But what happens if the Ninth Circuit comes back and the rates are higher? Are we leaving room for ourselves with the rate?
Yes, the agreement has a specific reopening provision in it, in which if the courts, the FCC, or Congress move to make changes in the current structure, we can reopen the agreement and renegotiate it.
Okay. And just one more question, because I'm a little confused on what the size, they're saying the size of the 5Gs are backpack, but then I'm hearing they're half the size of a refrigerator. What's the,
I'll have to defer to our engineers on that.
you'd have to defer?
Defer to our engineering department on the size issue. I don't know it offhand.
Right, he's like, I'm in line.
I just,
I was waiting to hear what size they are.
I have to look at it is in the agreement. I don't have the agreement with me, but I can get it to you shortly.
Okay.
The FCC ruling gives the size of allowed for a small wireless facility. So I will get you that definition.
Okay.
I guess, I want to express my appreciation for Mr. Berry's opinion, but I'm kind of in the same boat with Councilor Lovejoy Grinnell. The idea that we're absolutely restricted, it just seems a bit impractical, because I don't think we have any laws in this country that makes anything absolutely restricted, right? So that's a little tough to swallow, that there's no other opinion or no other idea, especially if you have other municipalities who have succeeded at moratoriums or even a ban on 5G or similar circumstances. So, I'm kind of in the same vein with her. I think we need more information in that respect. But I do appreciate the opinion that was provided.
Can I just clarify? So my understanding that, looking at Portland, they passed a resolution, but it's not that there's a moratorium there that's legally enforceable. It's that they professed that they didn't want them there. Is that correct? It's not legally a moratorium.
Correct. They basically petitioned the FCC through their resolution, which is something the council can do, to reopen the health issue and take that into consideration in their regulatory scheme work. So that's certainly an option open to the council to try to get their attention on this matter.
But the 5G is still getting installed in Portland.
I don't know if any wireless carrier has actually gone ahead and made arrangements with Portland, but there's no local law banning it.
And
So one last. So under the federal guidelines, if Verizon say were to apply in Portland, there'd be no way for them to prevent it from being installed. Correct?
Well, like us, Portland can adopt aesthetic requirements and reasonable
Aesthetic requirements,
regulations.
but not in essence the 5G itself.
The aesthetic requirements govern 5G in terms of how it's deployed, and that's, our version does the same thing.
Right. No, my
But they
fundamental
can't just say
question
no
is-
5G.
Right. That was my question.
That's the bottom line.
Thank you.
Well, there are other municipalities who have found other ways to provide a ban, essentially. For example, Mill Valley, California has adopted an urgency ordinance. Using its already existing urgency ordinance, has refused to allow these small cells to be installed.
I don't think that will withstand
But right now,
litigation.
just to answer Joe's question, currently in that location, in that municipality, there are no 5G cells which are permitted by their local law. Because they have prohibited it. That may not withstand judicial scrutiny. You're right, but that's where they are right now. Just to clarify Joe's question, it's true that it exists other places.
Thank you.
And then, just out of curiosity, this one wouldn't be for you, Joe, this would be for Mary. The information that was distributed, and I read it, it talked about that 5G would actually interfere with other frequencies and things we have within our structure now.
We had lengthy discussions with Verizon about that, and my understanding is every carrier is provided a frequency, as are our DPW and police, and those frequencies are assigned to those entities, and they're not supposed to interfere. If they do, we do have a provision in the agreement that addresses that, and they have to rectify that immediately.
Good, Mike. I'm done.
Okay.
Excuse me, counselors. I looked up the definition, and they're allowed to put up to 28 cubic feet per wireless facility. So you could say a 3 foot by 9 foot by 1 foot deep, but it's going to be various pieces, and it it can't total more than 28 cubic feet.
So it's half of a refrigerator. So let me ask you this question, Mary. When Verizon was here, they made a comment that they already have 5G in the city. Do we know the locations?
I don't know the locations. I know they've installed some facilities on private property. Do you know, Sam?
Hi, Sam Edelstein, Chief Data Officer. There's no 5G in the city. What Verizon talked about was existing small cell wireless devices. So there is one at the corner of Salt Springs Road and Genesee. That's a small cell facility. And then additionally, there are additional facilities on private property. None of them have 5G. They are intended to provide additional capacity for 4G communications. 5G is something that is just being rolled out across the country in the next year or so.
So is that one of the boxes on Ballantyne? I asked this a couple of months ago with those huge things sitting on that pole on Ballantyne.
No, that's a piece of National Grid's property.
Okay.
It's between two telephone poles with like a platform.
And it's huge.
Yep. That's all National Grid.
Wow.
Can I ask, Mary, do you know, how does this installation, or maybe Sam knows, I'm not sure, connect with FiOS? I know in other communities, this 5G is connected at the same time as FiOS. I know FiOS is something that many of us would like to see in Syracuse. How does this connect, and can Verizon install FiOS at the same time?
The two are not connected. We asked that question specifically. So even though there is fiber that is being deployed, first of all, the real challenge with Fios, I would love it across the city as well, but getting it from the street to the house is really the most expensive part. So the benefit of the wireless facility is that you have wireless connectivity. So the argument is that it sort of eliminates the last mile challenge. But the more practical thing is that Verizon Fios is a different entity than Verizon Wireless, and so there really isn't any overlap.
Done? We're done? Okay.
There are waiver items, I don't know if we can discuss them or not.
Yes, and those are Mr. Rudd's, aren't they?
Do we have to,
It's up to you if you want to just say these are your budget amendments.
these are just all budget amendments, and I think we're all pretty well versed on them.
So we're good?
I'm good.
We're good.
Okay.
All right, and with that, I need a motion. Second?
Second.